Steve Olson.
Hi, this is Steve.
Hey, welcome to the Edge Television broadcast.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
All right, Steve. Well, this is your first time on the program. Glad to have you. I've watched a lot of the videos. For this audience, though, we always like to ask our guests to introduce themselves. So if you don't mind, just introduce yourself to the Edge audience, who you are and what you're about.
Yep, my name is Steve Olson. I'm just a normal guy that's stumbled on some really good research about 6 months ago that opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know was going on in our heavens. And I started a YouTube channel, and it just exploded. So now I've become a personality, but more so, I think I've become a central collecting point of data on Nibiru and Wormwood, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have a YouTube channel?
I do. That's the only way that I communicate, really. That's the only way that I, distribute my materials. It's all free, and people can come and look at this stuff anytime they want to.
Okay. And how many subscribers you got now, Steve?
I think today I was almost up to 35,000. Wow. And the channel really started in earnest in late December.
Mm-hmm. And what's the main focus of your videos?
So what we're doing is basically just doing research on what we see in the heavens, what we see from satellites, what we see from testimonies, personal testimonies. And what we're trying to do is corroborate enough evidence so that we can get a fix on what we believe to be a solar system that has entered or is entering our solar system.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've had a number of guests talking about Nibiru and Planet X and even Planet 9 for that matter. But let me ask you, what do you think you are sort of a YouTube sensation that way. What do you think differentiates the production of your information and materials, say, versus others?
I think about this a lot. First of all, I would say that I have God's help. That's number one. Okay. I'm able. It just seems like I have a kind of a gift to either find people that know a lot about Nibiru or to find really good materials or images. And I just really seem to have a really good knack for finding that. But number two, and maybe even more importantly, you can't be more important than God, but the second most important thing is that, I'm not trying to pretend like I know everything. Mm-hmm. And I never have from the beginning. This is like a journey that people are joining me on, and they jump on my train wherever I am in the journey, or they can go back and see where I was a couple months ago. And this picture is evolving, and what we were saying 2-3 months ago is nothing like what we're saying now, because everybody gets a chance to have a say. Almost all my material comes from subscribers. So this maybe is the first time that anybody's ever acknowledged these people out there in the world that have been collecting data and afraid to share it. Mm-hmm. So it's been a big pressure release valve on a lot of folks that had a lot of information that were just afraid to bring it to the public.
Mm-hmm. So as far as Wormwood, can we use the term Nibiru and interpose it with Wormwood, or are these two separate entities?
No, I believe they're the same thing. So, and again, a lot of this is connecting the dots from Scripture. So one of the things about my channel is I try to connect what we're seeing in the science realm, or photography, or witness, all the things that you put in a courtroom, right? Mm-hmm. And we combine that with a look at, things like Fatima and prophecy and things like that to see if that maybe gives us more, a clear view. And what you see in Revelation 12:5, and this is actually that you can boil down Fatima, if your audience is interested in it. Fatima, Revelation 12:3, 4, and 5, and this Atika, this Japanese nun, all three align with each other, and the last Pope, Benedict, actually confirmed that in 2000. So, everybody wants to talk about the secret of Fatima and everything, and it's really not a secret at all. The Pope, he was very clear. He said, just go read 12:4, Revelations 12:4. You'll have everything you need to know. So in 12:4, what you see is it's about signs in the heavens, okay? And that's what Fatima is also about. It's also about a great apostasy of the church, and it's also about kind of the conflict with Satan and then the ultimate punishment. That's what all these things are being interpreted as. But if you look at the 12:3, for example, a sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its heads. So what I believe that this is representing, this verse, as it sets up to the next verse, which is even more compelling, is that this is a solar system with many bodies in it. So I interpret the enormous red dragon to be one of the stars, or one of the large, or 2 stars. We don't know. We as we observe the science side of it, it's coming clear that we might be looking at more than 1 star. Okay? Okay. And then 7 heads, 10 horns. These would be the planets and moons. That's the way that we're looking at it, right?
Okay.
And so Wormwood is one of those bodies that are in this grouping. Okay. So then you go to the next verse, 12:4. And this is Revelation 12:4, and its tail swept 1/3 of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. So this tail sweeps 1/3 of the stars out of the sky and flings them to earth. Okay?
Okay.
So what could cause such a cataclysm? And in Fatima, they say the same thing, that this is definitely a celestial event. And Sister Akita said that it is beyond Noah's flood in terms of destruction. Mm-hmm. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, what are these religious people talking about? What are these prophets talking about? What was Daniel talking about when he said kind of a similar thing? What did Daniel said? He said he confirmed that there was going to be 10 horns, and he confirmed the little horn, which was a blasphemous horn. So in other words, we see coming with this system, again, this is just speculation, okay? And this is just what we've learned together. Okay. But we believe what he's talking about is that there's actually going to be a being or beings coming off these planets, and they're going to blaspheme God.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Now, is there any correlation between the 1/3 of the stars, and isn't there a place in the Bible where it says 1/3 of the earth shall be burnt up? Is there any correlation between that?
I do believe so. So these apocalyptic events are caused by something, right? And it's some external force. And so as you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together and you start looking at the science, and this is where it really gets interesting and really gets fascinating. I'll give you a great example. Scientifically, when we look at what has leaked out of NASA and what we've looked at what has leaked out of scientists and astrophysicists that are allowed and not gagged on the subject, they tell us that this is a multi-planet, multi-body system that's surrounded in iron oxide dust, and this is an infrared star, a brown dwarf, a dwarf that would not be visible in the visible realm of light unless it had something else shining on it or it was reflecting light. So what do we see in the atmosphere right now? We're starting to see iron oxide dust in the atmosphere. Well, what would iron oxide dust cause if it started to choke our atmosphere as this thing approached? Well, it would cause a lot of electrical storms, number one. It would cause a lot of fire, because oxide, right? Iron oxide and electricity equals fire, like magnesium. Okay. So that's where I think we get this fire that, you'd think, well, some parts aren't going to get burned out, right? Well, no, I don't think there's much resisting electrical fires combined with iron oxide. Just don't. Mm-hmm. Because the iron oxide is going to increase the conductivity of the atmosphere.
Let me ask you something, Steve. Are you one to subscribe to the belief that there are the existence of chemtrails?
Oh, absolutely. I've documented them. And all my subscriber base sends me such interesting chemtrail photos. It's not just the chemtrails, Daniel. It's also like some of the craft don't even look like airplanes that are spreading them. We have pictures where it's like a bright circular orb flying through the sky. Strange stuff like that, right? Like that's technology that we don't know about even. It's not only do I believe in chemtrails, but I think that we're being helped with our chemtrails.
By an external force outside other extraplanetary origin?
Yeah, but let's be clear. So Luciferians and Lucifer, and this you're talking to a hardcore theological Christian. I was ordained in 2 different churches, you know what I mean? I will never depart from my faith in Christ. But I can also tell you that there's plenty of evidence. So I might be biased. Okay, that's what I was trying to say. But I've seen plenty of evidence where the Vatican and our government and the Russian government and other governments have been having, contact with what they think are extraterrestrial races. But you know what the interesting thing about when you really study that and you really get into that in depth, and this includes people like Nancy Lieder or Zeta Talk, right, who channels aliens according to her testimony.
Yeah.
They lie. They lie all the time. They never tell the truth. You go talk to anybody who spent any extended time in any of these top secret, specially compartmented programs, who had any direct contact with these entities, and they will tell you they are liars. You can't believe anything they say.
Yeah, I don't hang up on me, man, but I had Nancy Lieder on the program, and I didn't know that.
I don't blame her. I think she truly was in contact with an entity.
Well,
okay?
I think the entity called into the show here because I was talking to her, and then all of a sudden somebody else started talking. I said, "Who's that?" And she said, "That's my alien guy." And I said, "Whoa." I said, let's talk to him for a while. So yeah, man, I mean, this is messed up stuff. But getting to the chemtrails, Steve, I wanted to know, is the chemicals in the chemtrails, the barium and other things, are they adding to the toxicity of the iron oxide, or are they complemented? Does it have any interaction at all with that?
Yeah, so I don't know how they're related, but the first thing is, though, if you study and we actually did samples. We're coming at this with science, man. We had samples from a very heavy rainstorm right after heavy chemtrailing out west in Oregon, and then we had it taken to a lab and analyzed. Okay, 500 or 50 times the acceptable, 500 times the acceptable level of aluminum. 50 times the acceptable level of barium. And what else do we have in there that was really, really high? And then lithium. Lithium. Of all things, lithium, right? Lithium. So
what's that doing up there?
I know, right? So we went and we researched this, and this seems to have pretty strong scientific grounding as to what they're doing. Wow. So, number one, the aluminum is an anti-radiation thing. It's definitely they are trying to do geoengineering by reflecting the sunlight back into space using a highly reflective material, which is powderized aluminum, okay? Mm-hmm. And the second thing that aluminum has the property of doing is it blocks it blocks X-rays, it blocks radiation. So like in some dentist offices, in fact, there's a special type of gypsum board that's infused with aluminum that goes around the X-ray rooms when they build them, because aluminum's really good at resisting radiation, okay? So I figured that what they're doing with the aluminum, Daniel, is that is really, I think it goes to the recent leaks that we had with Snowden, who said that he believed that was a benevolent effort, in a sense, in a way. Right. And what they're trying to do is solar management. The second thing, barium, similar, it has anti-radiation properties, but guess what lithium has a special property for that you'd never guess?
Cancer causing.
No. Lithium, in addition to being a depression management drug, is also given to radiation patients and has a high efficacy in offsetting the effects of radiation in their brain.
Wow.
So I believe what they're doing, Daniel, and this is just me, this is what I've seen from the evidence as I pieced it all together. There's two reasons they do the chemtrails. Number one, they're doing solar management. They're dealing with 2 or 3 stars right now in our proximity, and they have to do something to block that energy. Otherwise, we'd be roasting like Pakistan is right now. Okay?
All right.
Number two, they need to get something into us, like lithium or something like that, so that we can continue function to the last minute. And then the third thing that you hear about, and we didn't talk about, was the third thing you hear about chemtrails, is that they're used to hide the system. So anytime that we have a really good chance to, usually it's evenings, like at sunset and sunrise, and then when the sun is in certain positions in the sky, you will notice that the chemtrailing will really focus around the sun. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to hide also those systems from us so that we can't see them from the ground.
You know, I don't mind a little barium or aluminum on my apples, but man, they go put lithium on there. That really pisses me off. So it sounds to me like they got a whole veritable cornucopia of chemicals and metals that they're just raining down on us. But you're saying that little blurb you put in there, that they're trying to keep us alive for a certain reason. What would that be?
So that we can the machines of this world system can keep going till the last possible minute. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, think of it, right, Daniel? If and really, I do believe that we're within a 2-year window now where we are going to definitely get our asses kicked. Okay, and now I know a lot of people have put dates out there, and I would say I don't know everything. But what I will tell you is I've seen enough evidence to show me that these planets and bodies are already within our proximity and are getting closer. Let me give you an example, a really simple one, okay? So the North Pole has started moving really slow at the turn of the century out of its position, and it moves around. We know that, right?
Yeah.
The magnetic pole does.
Okay.
But for some reason, it just started taking off, and it doubled in speed like every other year, and then it got to exponential. Now it's doubling in speed, and it slowed down just recently. Okay, so now it's somewhere over, I think, Britain or something. Wow. Right?
Okay.
Point being is that perfectly makes scientific sense that magnetic point would also point towards, say, another star. So as Wormwood and these bodies have gotten closer, our magnetic north is only changing because it's pointing towards them. Let me give you another example. We know, and our channel has proven, that the Earth is tilted more than it's supposed to be, 20 to 22 degrees off of where it should be. And we have people all over the world sending in testimonies and doing astronomical observations on. All you got to do is look at the Big Dipper and Orion. And anybody that has any astronomy background will know that these are not proper alignments for these constellations right now. Really? They know it.
Somebody's messing with the constellations.
Well, and it's not the constellations that are being messed with. It's that the Earth is being tilted in such a way that all of a sudden then the constellations wouldn't look normal to us anymore. Mm-hmm. So a little tilt will make the Big Dipper, instead of being grabbing water and then dumping it out, it starts out dumping water at night.
Well, wouldn't even amateur astronomers be able to tell that?
Yeah, but you cannot believe the fear, and this is the channel again, right? We'll go back to WSO, my channel, Wormwood System Observer. One of the reasons that it's successful is because a lot of amateur astronomers have seen it. They were just afraid to share it.
And so, how does somebody share the information that they find with you, Steve?
They just send me an email.
Okay.
Just I give them my email address, and I get probably 400 emails a day or so is what we're getting right now. And then I have a group that we vet them, and then we find the ones that we want to put on the show that day if we do a show that day. And we the way we do the shows is, once I have enough material to make a 15-minute video where I think I've got enough compelling stuff to make a story, I'll push out a video. Mm-hmm. And I can't keep up right now. That's how much. That's how much evidence.
Let me ask you something, Steve. I'm a beekeeper, and I grow various plants, fruits, and vegetables, things like that. But with the Earth being 22 degrees off, now bees have unlike many animals, I mean, maybe even birds for that matter, they have a way of finding their location.
Right.
And so if the Earth is off 22 degrees, shouldn't the bees become confused and not come back? And maybe that accounts for some of the colony collapse disorder, or perhaps.
I didn't have to say it, did I? The colonies have been collapsing. How long has that been happening, Daniel, as a beekeeper? I don't mean to turn into the questioner, but just in your experience, how long has this been happening?
I'd say about 5 years, maybe 5, 6.
Guess when we thought that the system came into our proximity?
I'm a cowboy, but I'm going to go crazy here, say 5 or 6.
That's exactly right. Wow. So we have researchers in Montana, researchers around the world that actually saw it coming in 2011. That's when it came in.
Whoa.
And then in 2012, it passed us, and then it went out and see the thing that we're looking at right now. The current state of our research is we're trying to deal with the paradigm shift that it might not be a planet orbiting around our sun; it might be us orbiting around them.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the thing that occurred to us because there's so many different interactions and planetary positions, and we're getting to the point where we can actually start to predict where things are going to be, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it, it's not like a clip that they did they got to perihelion and they're coming back around like all these researchers talk about. There's no evidence of any perihelions or anything like that. They just keep pulling this out of their, kind of out of their imagination. What we do see is a lot of different bodies, and we're passing some, and now we're starting to see a blue one, and we're starting to see the red one. And the red one, and we also go to Hopi Prophecies, for example. So we're not trying to be bigoted or, overly dogmatic. So I'll go talk to the Indian chief, right?
Okay.
And I'll see what the Hopi Indians say about it. And if you know the story about the Hopi Indians, they talk about the blue Kachina and the red Kachina and all the planets and everything that come with those bodies.
I'd ask them. I'd go up there and ask them where they at. Arizona, where they at?
They're in Arizona.
Okay.
Absolutely. The Hopi are very, very. They're the one of the Indian tribes that we never truly conquered.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad the white man didn't stomp on everybody. But let me ask you, Stephen. Now, I don't have a. It's enjoyable to talk to you because now in some cases, the idea, and you mentioned when you mentioned Fatima or even Medjugorje or whatever. Some would say, well, that sounds like a Catholic thing. Therefore, you're disinfo. All of a sudden these wheels start turning in people's minds, and you're talking to the Hopi Indians now. They say, well, now you're conjuring up demons from the Indians and stuff. I don't know that it always has to be like that.
Daniel, are you getting tired of that?
Really? Yeah, actually, I am.
I am getting a little sick of this.
You should see my email, Steve.
Yeah, right. Mine too. Here's the thing that I find you gotta do. If you're truly gonna be a spiritual person, the first thing you gotta start out with is that you don't know crackers. Number one, before you can really talk to God, before you can really hear God's voice, in my opinion and in my experience, you have to go to him empty. You can't go with something in your head saying, this is the way it's going to be, God. Mm-hmm. It don't work that way with him. You go to him and find out what it's going to be. Right?
Right.
Well, let's say that God designed all this stuff, and we're just not privy to it yet.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Is that possible?
It is possible. The Bible says it's a matter of kings to search things out. I mean, right. He didn't set it out there and say, here it all is. Seems like he wants us to do some questioning.
Now, do I believe the Catholic Church has participated in its history in Constantinople and Constantine and blah 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 blah? I can go church history with anybody. Okay. Let me tell you something. There's the reason the Catholic Church has been under a lot of attacks from day one is because they're the ones that are holding the holy records, man. You don't think that there's going to be demons and devils trying to take that stuff out of our hands for centuries? Heck yeah. Just think. Now, do you think there's going to be an evil pope that's going to probably, machinate his way to the top of that organization so that he can have influence over all this data that they have in the Vatican? Absolutely. You have to expect it. We have a very wily enemy. Where did people think that this is going to be some simple thing to uncover? I don't get it. Number two, let me tell you something. Let's just talk about aliens for a second, okay? Anytime you talk about an angel, that's an alien. Because guess what? Classic definition, alien means they're not from here. Right?
Right.
So if you believe in alien, or if you believe in angels, you believe in aliens.
Ooh. Well, they're gonna get
Jesus, Mary, was impregnated by an alien.
Uh-oh. Okay, now I know I'm going to get an email on that one. I'm going to get an email that says you're a Zionist Jew Mossad disinfo. Here it comes. I know it's coming.
Oh no,
it's coming. It's on. It's all.
Holy Spirit's not from here. He created this planet. He's not from here.
No, he ain't from around these parts. I guarantee you that.
You know what I'm saying? So just shoot. Okay, let's take another story from the Bible. You'll love this one. Okay.
Okay.
This is the Mount Transfiguration. This is when Peter, James, and John followed Jesus up the mountain, and it could only be those, it was the most inner circle of the apostles, and Jesus went to the top of this mountain, right? And then all of a sudden he was transfigured into pure white, and appearing before him was Elijah and Moses. Mm-hmm. And they consulted with one another. Okay, let me ask you a question, Christian people. Was Jesus talking to a ghost?
All right, anybody in the live chat, you heard the question. Just send us the answer through the live chat. It'll pop up.
Moses was dead. We have his bones. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we know now Elijah. Did Elijah die? It was Enoch and Elijah were the two that were taken up, right?
Okay. Yeah. The two.
Yep. So and many Christians believe those will be the two witnesses in the end too, because they hadn't died yet, so they got to do their one death yet. Right. So it's appointed unto every man to die. You know that one.
Yeah, I do. But there's evidence that the number of people died twice.
But you'll never find a more Jesus-loving person than me. I will say right out, and they say in the Bible, you can't say this unless you say it by the Holy Spirit. I believe Jesus Christ is God. Okay?
Okay.
So don't tell me I don't believe in Jesus Christ and that I'm not a Christian. I'm just saying we don't know everything. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And how would we be able to know this stuff, right? We didn't even know about genes until the turn of the century, and it hasn't even been since till like the last 10 years that we've even mapped our own genome. I mean, how would we know these things, right? There's no way for us to know what's going to happen. And just like Daniel said, he said that the knowledge will increase in the end, and it will be made known to his watchmen and his servants, okay? And I believe that's happening, Daniel. I really do. I think radio shows like this where you are bringing people on and talking about this stuff is exactly the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy.
Wow. Well, I definitely like the name there. And by the way, Steve, I did get emails saying that you were not a Christian. And so, I didn't really, I don't have a litmus test for one, but it's like somebody, and this happens probably with every guest anyway, so don't take it personal. I mean, every guest gets researched.
No, man, I get the, I'm going to straight to hell.
You are. And,
yeah, I'm going straight. But see, the thing of it is, though, is that I was not able to speak, even though I have the gift and the anointing to speak and everything like that. The Lord would not let me exercise this gift until just recently. Mm. And I like, many other people that have been trained by God. I mean, I was in the wilderness, man, and he showed me how to trust and lean on him 100%. And all I'm trying to tell you, Christian brothers and sisters, if you like it or not, I'm your brother, is that you don't know everything. And if you approach this stuff like you do, you will be confused, perplexed. And again, this goes back to the Fatima thing. They talk about the apostasy, Daniel. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that the Fatima books talk about. The great apostasy of the church, where all these people are going to turn their head on Jesus, turn their back on Jesus. Well, if you think about it, right now, I don't believe people are in an a state of apostasy. I see the church still growing, Daniel. Don't you?
Yeah. Actually, there are some Muslims that are converting as well.
Right. And even if you go across the world, this world is a very religious, quote unquote, world, right? I don't see people taking a mark in the current state. I don't see people just lining up for the mark of the beast. Okay, I just don't see it in this current world structure, right?
Yeah.
How many Americans would come out with their guns and everything? You know what I mean?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot more than they count on. That's for daggone sure.
But let me change the game a little bit. Let's say that an asteroid hits the Earth. Let's say that there's mass casualties. Let's say there's tsunamis. Let's say that the whole world is shaken and through these events of iron oxide dust and hailstorms and all the things that the Book of Revelation and Fatima warn us of.
Okay.
Right. I think people will be more amicable to an alternative to Jesus Christ at that point. And what I mean by that is, let's take all the pre-trib rapture Christians, okay? Let's say that there is no pre-trib rapture, but you're going to have to live through the tribulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
that would be quite disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get the pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, and double-trib people in the same room, see what happens. I think it looked like a Trump rally outside of a Trump rally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what's the funniest thing about it? This goes back to my original point. It just doesn't matter. Jesus is going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we can learn, we can listen and learn, right, from him, or we can tell him. Mm-hmm. Right? So what are you doing? Are you telling him? Somebody's telling him, because you can't have it three ways. So which one of those people are telling Jesus, and which one of them is Jesus telling them? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, right. There you go. That's the problem, isn't it? We don't have a lot of people really asking Jesus what he thinks. We really don't. We have a lot of people pulling up the Bible and, believing something and beating everybody over the head with it, but we don't have a lot of people asking Jesus' opinion. Mm. We really don't.
That does sound like a good place to start in anybody's trek to find out what the truth is. And Steve, I'll tell you what, we've got a number of questions come in, and some from the Fast Blast, some from our live chat. So let me get to a couple for you. You ready?
Yep.
All right, this one here is from Dreamwalker out of the live chat. It says, Steve, have you researched or considered the flat Earth theory?
Yes. And here's what my research netted, Daniel.
Okay.
There is a very strong indication that flat Earth was part of the Great Deception. Now you'll say to me, God dang, how many parts could there be to this, deception that you're talking about? Well, let me remind you that when we invaded Europe in 1944, the great June 6th invasion of the great liberating force of the United States and Britain into Nazi Germany, right?
Okay.
You cannot believe how many deceptions that they had going, how many misdirections, how many experts talking about this and that. And so you just have to look at World War II to see an example of a great, or let's take the Manhattan Project, for example. That never did get out. That was never, certainly the Russians got some of it right after we exploded the bomb, but prior to it, they were surprised. Mm-hmm. So when you say that that the government can't pull off a secret, you're really not studying history. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Some of that deception was included blow up tanks.
Right.
They were just
so now let's get back to the flat Earth question. Okay. Mm-hmm. So part of trying to keep our eye off of what's really going on, all of these things that are going to come that would potentially put us in control of our own destiny versus the government being in control of everything. And the only way that you can resist the government is for you to have your own food and water. Okay?
All right.
Seriously, you will have to go to a FEMA camp if you don't have water. Okay? But anyway, back to the flat Earth theory. So the flat Earth theory, and I've seen plenty of evidence of this, and I probably could do a whole show on this too. It was a CIA psyop. And the reason that they did this was because they knew they could get Christians to bite on it. Mm-hmm. And they knew that Christians would be their biggest problem because we have this Revelation 12:4 right in front of us. So we're expecting it, right?
Right. We're expecting a big deception, right?
Right. So what they wanted to do, and this is at the very core of this, was they wanted to create a conflict between Christians like me and Christians that would say, well, if you don't believe the earth is flat, then you're not a Christian. That's what they're trying to get equal to.
And it's so easy to do.
It is so easy to pull people in. Yeah. And so my research has netted that it's a psyop to make us look stupid, to reduce our credibility with the public, and to just make us a non-factor when it comes to talking about this issue.
They love to make Christians look like Neanderthals out of some dark past history, and present Christians as the Crusades, just wanting to kill everybody, what they always say. It's like, really? But no, they do a good job. And you're right. Christians do bite on that almost every time. They got to be laughing about that one.
It's not because they're not. See, and the other thing that you got going for you when you're a Christian is that you're trying to be honest, right? And, you're trying to be clean, you're trying to be holy and all that stuff. And you don't expect that people would be coming at you with that maliciousness. You really don't. Most naive Christians don't believe that people want to kill them. But there are people that want to kill you. Okay? Mm-hmm. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well, Europe believes that the immigrants don't want to kill them, and I think they're finding that's not the reality. All right, let's get to another question for you, Steve. This is from James West. It says, and relating back to our earlier conversations about chemtrails, are chemtrails in and of themselves poison?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me just move on to the next one here. We got a few more, and then we'll get back to our conversation. Von Erich wants to know, and this we're talking about the bones of Moses. You mentioned that in the earlier conversation. You said, "Are you sure they were Moses' bone?" In our earlier conversation.
No, I think I might have been talking about actually misreferencing Joseph's bone. Mm-hmm. Joseph's bones? Yeah, Joseph's bones.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and this one's from Cleet. Wants to know, Steve, do you have any specific evidence that we're likely to experience what you say is heading our way?
Right, so we're already starting to experience. That's the answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we see these weird storms, these big, huge, dramatic changes in from cold to hot, mm-hmm. From calm to stormy, mm-hmm. The magnetosphere. If you guys have you ever talked to BPE Earthwatch or ever followed any of his videos?
No, I haven't.
He's one of the big, kind of truthers out there. We all have our disagreements, by the way. Mm-hmm. But one of the things he covered really well was that we lost our magnetosphere about a month ago. We completely lost it. Wow. We had an opposing solar storm. Another sun opposed the solar force of our sun and pushed the solar wind in the opposite direction over the Earth. Okay?
Yeah.
And he documented it. And then, just like always, whenever BP does one of these, like inside, when he's able to get this information, it only takes a few minutes before NASA takes it all down. Mm-hmm. But thank God he records it and has it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he showed that the magnetosphere collapsed. Well, what happens when the magnetosphere collapses? We don't have a shield over our Earth.
Fry.
Right. And so these are all, can you see how they all kind of tuck and tie with prophecy about a third of the grass being burned? And, if you don't have a solar shield, you got iron oxide dust, and all of a sudden you get a solar flare, that would cause a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. So were you saying then, are you correlating the chemtrails as those in power know that something to that effect is happening and they're trying to create an earthly shield?
Yeah, I do. I really do believe that they're trying to create a shield. I really do. Now, the way that they're doing it and the way they decided on it and the forces that they're working about it and then the nefarious parts of it. So on the one hand, you've got aluminum going in there for solar management, but then what are those other 40 chemicals for, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's get to another question here. This is from Doug in Kentucky. It says, what if... Well, I'll go ahead and read it. But it says, what if the Earth is flat or stationary and the sun and planets are revolving around the Earth, so planets that we see nearing the sun is simply just that, planets moving around the sun?
Well, so first of all, I dismiss the flat Earth theory. We are a spherical object in a heliospheric solar system, and we follow the sun as it pushes through space at 70,000 kilometers per minute. Okay. Now, with that said, let me give you some examples. We actually had a rogue planet. A lot of people don't know this or don't remember this, but back in like the 70s, a rogue planet actually blew through our solar system. Whoa. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, just blew right through because it was going too fast.
Okay. Was there anybody on that rogue planet?
No, it was just a rock. But the point is that we've seen, it's not unusual, to go back to the second part of his question. It's not, remember, we're in a big universe and there's lots of space, but there are also lots of objects, right? So it doesn't surprise me that we would have seen other objects that had nothing to do with Nibiru or Wormwood or any of the prophecies that we're talking about, but just, Celeste, just like Halley's Comet. We see that every, 75 years, right?
Right.
So we know these things happen. Why? And we see asteroids hitting other planets, and we see stars, binary stars everywhere else. Where do we get to this point where we think that nothing can happen to us? Who told that lie? It's just crazy. It's like nothing's going to happen to us. What do you base that on?
That's what we all want to know, man. Steve, we're gonna find out.
Okay, that's what I think too. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out as much as we can, and our goal, our ultimate mission goal, is to try to pinpoint when it's coming.
Well, there's nothing wrong. I mean, there are those that claim you shouldn't even be looking at the stars, but the Bible clearly says that you should notate. It says you see the clouds red and lowering. I mean, it does present a certain expectation that there is celestial events coming our way, and I don't see any harm whatsoever.
Oh, those three wise men that brought the frankincense, myrrh, and gold to Jesus. Mm-hmm. Those demon worshipers, mm-hmm. looking at the sky and looking at signs in the sky. Oh my God, how could they even do that?
Yeah.
Come on, man, wake up, you guys. These were magi. They weren't even religious. They weren't even Jews.
No. And, right. And the scripture that you shall not consult an astrologer or consult astrology, people have used that. But wait a minute, that's what these guys were doing. And as I recall, that God made a way for them to escape as well.
Correct. They were able to escape Herod. Yep. And so, I do believe that these were scientists, though. I think these were the scientific, kind of guys that were looking at the stars and looking at prophecy and, mm-hmm. And looking at, hey, this is a fulfillment of prophecies, and they knew how to react to it.
Okay.
That's different than astrology, where you're trying to figure out where your next mate's going to come from, or that kind of crazy stuff. Right. I think there's a difference there.
Now, besides that, I tried to play the stock market with it, and I never won nothing. Hey, all right, here, let's get another question. Chris Wilson wants to know, Steve, do you think that our inner core is dead?
I don't know. This is one where I just have a big question mark, because when I first looked at the hollow earth theory and some of those things, I dismissed it as just craziness, just like everything, right?
Right.
But lo and behold, when you start to study and you start to find out history, like Admiral Byrd's trips down to the Antarctica and his claims that he actually was inside one of the caverns, or the Nazis that supposedly found this entrance, these stories are compelling, right? I don't know the answer yet, though. I don't have anything conclusive to say it, but there sure is a lot of indications that there might be something there we've never been told.
Hey, just came to me earlier. We were discussing the effects of chemtrails, and I think you were saying something about the medicating effect of lithium. That's sort of like fluoride. I mean, it looks like the science says that fluoride is sort of a mood modifier, so that you're more accepting of your surroundings. I'm wondering, does lithium have the same way? In other words, to prevent people from rising up, or to even ask questions, for that matter, of the powers that be?
Yeah, I've heard that lithium is used heavily in psychiatric treatment, and I don't know what its efficacy is per se, but I do believe it's one of those. It is one of those kinds of drugs that's trying to balance your serotonin levels or whatever. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's a psychoactive drug, and also it has the effect of slowing down radiation damage to your brain. Oh man, I can't even believe I'm saying this stuff half the time. Oh.
We're going to have to get you on some kind of medication, some kind of psychotropic drug, or cast the devil out of you. I don't know which. Probably.
I know, right?
Man, I didn't know that you were going to be that fun of a guest, Steve.
Oh man, and the thing of it is that's the other thing is when you talk about the channel is we're not weird there, man. Weird is not allowed. We really want to have serious conversations, just like we're having, Daniel, right now. Mm-hmm. This is the conversation that I try to have with all the subscribers, and we try to get the subscribers talking to each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's not all about one person or one personality or one smart guy that's really good at stuff. Mm-hmm. It's about a community of people coming together and saying, you know what? We're not crazy. And we're going to stop accepting that label, and we're going to start to really do some research together. Wow.
And I tell you what, that's a perfect fit for the way I view The Edge, is specifically with those in the live chat and those watching the program live, is that, I always say, a guest may something that you don't like, or you research and you disagree with, but don't throw everything out. Man, like you said earlier, nobody has all the truth. And as soon as somebody says they got the truth, they don't. That's the first person you got to discount.
That's right. That's right. And you got to maintain humility at all times. I mean, seriously, God, he resists the proud, man. He really does.
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, we're right near the top of the hour, and we just turned you down, take a 5-minute break for the folks out there watching and or listening on TuneIn Radio. So that being the case, anything you'd like to say about your YouTube channel, or anything to that nature? You go right ahead. Any way somebody can reach you, you can take this opportunity.
It's really simple. It's a one-step process. Right now, we've got the blessing of you put in my name, Steve, Olson, not Ian, O-N. And I come up on top in Google.
Now how much do you have to pay them to do that?
$0.
Well, how long you been out there?
Since December.
That's remarkable, Steve.
It is, and I'm not sharing this to be Daniel. I'm really not. I'm telling you this so that you can see that I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I see that. Your humility. In fact, believe it or not, Steve, one of the first comments about you in the live chat was somebody said, "I like this guy. He seems he's got some real humility and a sense of humor too as well." All right, Steve. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to be back with you in 5 minutes. Stay right there, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody, you're watching and or listening to the Edge television broadcast. You can listen to this program on TuneIn radio channels live right now. The program will be put into our TuneIn radio queue here after the program. We'll also upload this, the high-definition video extract portion of the program and put it up on our YouTube channel as well. We'll podcast it, and then so there's several different ways you can watch the program. Next week, we're going to have Wes Germer on, and in 2 weeks, Jeffrey Daugherty talking about he self-described Christian whistleblower. What is that? We'll find out. All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Here we go. And welcome back to the Edge television broadcast. My name is Daniel Lott. If you missed any of the exciting first hour, it will begin to replay in our main player there on the Edge's website. Additionally, we'll put it up on our YouTube channel, podcast it, and put it in our TuneIn radio playlist as well. Now let's go back to our Newsmaker line, see if we have with us Steve Olson. Steve Olson, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
Well, man, what an exciting first hour. First of all, I think you're already due to be burned at the stake.
Hey, I'm in good company.
Well, there you go. There you go, man. A lot of people, that happened to a lot of them that spoke the truth there. And, I think they was mad at, was it John Wycliffe? The Catholics were so mad at him. Was it him? And they dug up his bones and reburnt them. They were so mad that he translated the Bible from Latin to English.
Yeah. I get, that story after story, like just look at what happened with Luther, Oh my God.
Well, yeah. So anytime you veer out there, but what you were saying, what I was getting, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's okay to use extra biblical sources, maybe not as your guiding light truth, but simply is there something that they contain some kind of correlation to what you're studying, some direction that doesn't necessarily cause you to make a right turn, but maybe just throws a little light on the situation. Am I reading that right?
Yeah. So I believe that the Bible, the canon of the Scripture, was the best that we could do to put together the best scriptures and the best choices of manuscripts. I think they did an admirable job, given all the different things that they could have put in the Bible. Understand how the Bible was put together, folks. But here's the thing that you got to remember about the book, right? The book is a letter from God to you. And the idea is that you would take that letter and use it as a way to know him. And then once you know him, then you would evolve and the Holy Spirit would teach you and keep you in line with the book, right? Mm-hmm. Too many people become worshipers of the book. And God calls that adultery.
Whoa. It says thou shalt have no other gods, but I can tell you, it looks like somebody sent a litmus test question in for you. This will test your level of commitment to Christianity. And I guess who is this from? Guest 219 wants to know, Steve, how many turtles are mentioned in the Bible?
How many turtles are mentioned? I got to say one in the book of Job. Just guessing.
Well, guess 219. Does he pass? I would think it would be 2. Wait a minute. Is that a clean or unclean animal? I don't know. But anyway, okay. We'll find out later if you pass that test if you're going to burn. All right. Let's get to this question here. In the event of this, the Wormwood passing through, is that going to cause the prophesied stock market collapse, the financial collapse that so many people talk about?
Yeah. So. Again, this is so think of a program on this global scale similar to the Manhattan Project, okay? And there are very few people know the whole picture, okay? And they are engineering events to happen in a certain sequence so that it gives them maximum benefit. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is the manipulation of the financial markets. And I believe that one of the harbingers of the event itself will be the collapse first. So in other words, I believe, this is just me, this is not speak of the Lord or anything like that, this is just Steve Olson. I believe that the cataclysm will be the first sign. There'll be the bank holiday. There'll be all these, financial things, and it will just escalate into all of a sudden we're going to see some really bad stuff, and it's just going to escalate from there. That's what
I think we got a preview of that in Greece, did we not? When they there was a time when the banks said you can only withdraw the equivalent of $50 a day.
Yeah, right. And that had a big impact on me. I don't know about you.
Yeah. That tells you that, hey, you're thinking that's your money, but maybe it's really not. It looks to me like they claim it.
Yeah, we got to be careful with the banks and with money and all that kind of stuff, and just be very cautious. And really, the main thing you have to understand is the bank owns everything that's in those doors.
Maybe that's
as soon as you put your money in there, they own it.
Maybe that's why Bernie Sanders wants to break up the big banks and then flush them down the toilet, and then the money they got left, they can pay for free college education for everybody.
That's his plan.
That is.
Think about that for a second, though. This is the other interesting thing about topics like the banks, right? Like the Fed and all that stuff. I have right-wing friends that believe that the banks need to be broken up, and I have left-wing friends that believe the bank. Everybody believes the banks need to be broken up. Okay. Why aren't they being broken up? Everybody believes it. Top to bottom, and the American people are sick of the banks. I don't care if you're, right Trump-loving, worshiping Trump guy, or if you're a Bernie Sanders left-winger. We all know the banks got to go. Why aren't they going?
Really? Can't get them bastards out of here.
You know what I'm saying? So, again, they exercise so much control. We know the answer to this, right, Daniel? They exercise so much financial control. They very much control the destinies of nations. Well, yeah. And that's what people have to understand, that this is a huge deception. And even God, even Jesus said that there'll be a great deception in the last times. Remember?
Well, half of the government employees seem to have worked for Goldman Sachs. So it's just a revolving door between the banks and government. So you're right. It is a cluster there, and it seems to be an immovable object, and their will seems to be the law. All right, let's go to another couple questions here. This is from Truth Seeker 101. Steve, is God an alien who then created aliens?
No. First of all, God has always been, always will be. And I was trying to make a point to Christians that when you sit there and say that all aliens, all people, all beings from other planets are demons, think about what you're saying is what I'm trying to do. So first of all, God has always been, always will be. That I believe in the eternalness of God. Okay. But number two, did he create aliens? Well, let me tell you, I can go through a list of about 14 breeds of people that I can go through the Bible right now and show you. And we go cherubim, we go archangels, we go. I mean, what do you want to talk about? There's several aliens.
Nephilim.
We would consider aliens around the throne of God. There's one that's got the head of a lion and an eagle, and you know what I mean. Come on, dudes, read the Bible.
There's a lot of men there, ain't they?
Yeah. Well, who's Melchizedek? Anybody want to take a crack at that one?
Well, who's the guy with 6 fingers and 6 toes? Who's that guy?
Yeah.
That's some kind of hybrid walking around right there.
So when we talk about the 200, watchers, and I do believe this jives with the Bible very well, that they came, just like Genesis 6 said, they came and they had relations with human women, just like the Bible said, and they created the Nephilim. It says right in the Bible they did. So come on, man. I mean, you want to be people of the Bible, or only just accept the stuff that's not weird?
Exactly. All right. Hey, here's a question from our moderator of the chat. Her name is Jade. She takes control of that, keeps everybody in line. She says, without a magnetosphere, compasses would not work. How would you explain that my compass is still working and pointing in the same direction as always?
Right. So these seem to have geographic issues too. So, for example, when we were doing R. Wayne Stiegler's one of the core members of our team, and he was the one that started picking up the anomalies. But he's at 6,000 feet in the mountains of Colorado. And he turned back to another patron in the restaurant. And before you know it, he had all the patrons in the restaurant were seeing that their compasses were off, right? Mm-hmm. So it seemed like in that Colorado in the west, I was getting a lot of reports. But if you go to the east, I have a friend also out there, Richie from Boston, who's got a YouTube channel. And he was not seeing any of this phenomenon. In fact, he was correcting us on some stuff. So I don't believe that you're going to be able to see the magnetic disturbance all the time, but we have enough data now and from enough different locations that we know that there's absolutely magnetic anomalies happening right now.
Well, isn't it the same thing with those that purport to have pictures of Nibiru or second sun? A lot of times it doesn't really show, but other people say under certain circumstances you can see it.
Yeah, and this goes to the atmospheric conditions and what they're doing with the chemtrailing, you know. So just because there's a planet out there doesn't mean you're going to be able to see it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm saying, guys. Yeah. There's enough stuff going on to hide it, not to mention the least of which is it's not going to be always easy to see stuff out there just because of sun rays and, you know, God knows what else. But
right now I just put a graphic up. This is from Fox News. It says astronomers discover dwarf planet 7.5 billion miles from the sun. So, you know, there's celestial discoveries all the time. So we can't lock our science and and what we know about the planets and solar system you know, as a singular source of truth that always has been, always will be, because we're always in this mode of discovery.
Exactly right. And even the astronomers would say, well, here's the latest one, like the one that we were covering a couple days ago. They were talking about like humongous superplanets that are like 40 times the size of Jupiter. Mm-hmm. And I can remember Nibiru researchers saying this like a couple years ago, that there's these huge planets in the system that are just bigger than anything we've ever seen before. Mm-hmm. Oh, the guffaws and the laughs, right? Oh, you're crazy, you conspiracy theorists. Now all of a sudden the astrophysicists start saying, oh, wow, look, we just saw a humongous planet that's like 40 times the size of Jupiter. Woo! Everybody thinks they know everything, man. I hate it.
I know, right? All right, hey, let's get to this question here. Is the sun a portal to another dimension?
I don't know.
Okay. How about that? What's called a lunar wave? What's going on with that?
Lunar waves. That's a new one on me. I haven't heard of the lunar waves.
Already?
Do you know anything about it, Daniel?
No. Well, I've seen it. It's like a video. It's something that looks like a wave. Almost like the picture is like some anomaly of a picture. It looks like a wave going across the moon's surface. I have seen that, but I tell you what, while I have the listeners and viewers Google your name after the show, you Google lunar wave.
I will.
Let's get everybody.
Let's talk about the moon though for a second.
Okay, right? Let's talk about it. Love it. Love the moon.
Yeah, let's talk about the moon. So the moon doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows that, right?
Well, I never thought it did.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense from any planetary dynamics, anything. It doesn't make sense. Just go really do some research on the moon sometime, and really be open-minded to go out there and see all the different points of view on the moon. For example, the famous experiment where NASA, you know, accidentally ran something into the moon. I think what the story was, but it reverberated like a bell for 30 minutes. It's just weird, right?
Yeah.
And then we have these rumors, or supposed whistleblowers coming forward and saying that there are beings on the moon, that the moon might not even be a planetoid; it might be some kind of huge spaceship. So there's all kinds of weird stuff. But let's just start out with right now: the moon is a weird thing. Okay, it's just weird.
Oh yeah, it's weird. I mean. You know,
and I think Secure Team does a great job on some of the stuff, and one of the best, channels on this stuff. But go poke around in the Secure Team channel sometime, and all the pictures of the moon that he's taken, and with his own telescope even, and found things like structures on the moon. Go check that stuff out; it will blow your mind.
I'm sorry, I missed a point about it not making any sense. What are we doing with that?
Was that a question to me, Daniel?
Yeah. You said, I was agreeing with you that the moon doesn't make any sense, but I forgot. I may not have been listening. What did you describe the moon as not making any sense? That it shouldn't be there, or there's a lot of people
the way it sits in our orbit, the way that it perfectly regulates the tides.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I see where you go. Yeah, it's like it was placed there.
Correct. Yeah, and most scientists that have studied the moon would say the same thing.
Well, and I've also heard people say that it was placed there actually to sort of deflect asteroids and meteors from hitting the Earth.
It would seem so, given the fact that it looks like it's pelted. But you want to notice something? Here's something that we noticed about the moon the other day in studying it, as we're learning too, right?
Okay.
It doesn't seem like there's any glancing blows. It seems like every crater hit on the moon is a direct hit, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. That's just weird to me. Why don't we see any like glancing sideways blows, or you know what I mean? Why is it always a direct hit?
That's a good question there. That don't make any sense either.
Right.
All right.
That's just me not knowing anything.
Okay, but what you're not saying is an alien towed it and dropped it into orbit. Are you saying that maybe a higher power put it up there?
Sure, it could have been. It could have been our Lord, in His wisdom, put it there. All those different things, but it just shows how little we know, right?
Yeah.
It's like they still can't fully explain the moon. It's right next to us. We can't explain the ocean. We're sitting on it.
Look, I can't explain a seed. I'll put a seed in the ground, and I'm thinking, how in the heck does it know to have stem and leaves and this and that and fruit and everything else coming out of it? Where are the instructions? Can I look in that seed and see the instructions of how it grows and produces fruit? I don't get it.
Yeah, let me give you another bad thing about knowing everything. Okay.
Okay.
You lose your sense of wonder. Completely, you will lose your sense of wonder. If you think you're a know-it-all, nothing's a mystery to you anymore. Nothing's wonderful. Nothing's mind-blowing anymore. You lose your sense of wonder.
And I think you also lose your sense of humor, because what you're saying there just is ringing true, because it seems like the left-wing liberals that I would talk to, they have no sense of humor. They have no wonder. They're just boring as hell.
Yeah, I get that, and a lot of people are that way, But again, it's one of those things. It's like, do you want to go back to being a child again when everything was new and everything was exciting, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Jesus told us to be like little children, that whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I think he's talking about. I think that it's directly related to us humbling ourselves and letting him share how wonderful the universe is with us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Instead of us telling him how it is.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I got you on that one there. All right, let's get to this question from John Barker. Wants to know, is Cain from the Bible still alive today?
Possibly.
Oh, you don't dismiss that, eh?
No. The other thing about Cain that's interesting is that, oh gosh, I'm not even going to go there.
Why not? This is the edge. You're allowed.
Eve was beguiled by the devil. You know that, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah. He seduced
Beguile is a sexual word.
Yeah. He's trying to get some.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Alrighty. Well, we've dealt a lot more risque than that here. So
but the point being is that there's some that believe, and I'm not sure I believe it, but it certainly punched me in the stomach when I studied the word beguile and followed up on what this theologian was saying. Uh-huh. That it's possible that Cain was the love child of Satan and Eve.
Okay.
But again, these are just crazy speculations, guys.
Yeah.
Again, it's not important to my faith in Jesus Christ at all. I do know that there was an argument between God when he confronted Adam, Eve, and the devil after the fruit of knowledge of good and evil was consumed. Mm-hmm. He did say that my seed, mm-hmm. and it was his seed and my seed, remember?
Yeah.
So it was about seed. It wasn't about my guys are going to wreck your guys. It was my seed was going to wreck your seed. So your seed would bruise my seed's heel, and he will crush your head. Remember that?
Yes, yes.
So, this goes to the L.A. Marzulli stuff, and if you've ever studied L.A. Marzulli, he's got some compelling stuff about that.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Steve, here's where I get into trouble is when I start querying guests about the plumbing aspects of the sons of God, cohabitating with the daughters of men and that, or even the serpent and Eve. When I start asking about the plumbing, then then the hate mail starts rolling in. So I guess
because
I'm not allowed to ask that question.
A certain way, okay?
Yeah.
And this is a great example. So here's what happens with me throughout my whole Christian walk, ever since I was first filled with the Holy Spirit. Okay. I would find like the first 4 months, I had to go through every false Christian doctrine, I swear to God, okay? And live with it for like 2 days each. And I would buy into it a little bit, and then I'd back off.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
And then he would correct me and say that's not correct. I wanted you to see that error so that you know it's an error. And I just keep going through, and that's been my whole life. So I might step out and say something crazy like Eve and Satan had a love child, but if it's not true, by next week God will have me back around it again. Trust me.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like you allow what you believed. And I ask people this question: if what you were dogmatically believing 10 years ago, is it still the same today? And I think most people will say no. There is a change, and so I always want to know what the purpose is. When we're so sure that we have a truth, should we pronounce that out there? Should we say everybody's going to burn if they don't believe my way? Should we say, here's an idea, this could be true? I mean, how do you present those without making a permanency to that, like this is it and there is no other?
All I can say is the thing I do know is I was not drawn to my God because of fear. Mm-hmm. I was drawn to my God out of love. Mm-hmm. That's all I got to say about it.
Okay.
Because if he would have used fear, I'm such a rebel, I would have just told him to flip off. Mm-hmm. Seriously, I mean, he knows me. He knows how to get to me. Well, and he chastises me like a son ever since. But what I'm telling you is, very rarely do you get a very good confession when you torture somebody. Remember that?
Yeah. You won't get a long lasting one for sure. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get to this question here, because I'm sure no matter what interview you ever go on, you're gonna get it. So, what is the time frame of the Planet X?
Yeah, so there's a lot of the first. Let me put it in hot spots, okay? The next hot spot I'm looking at right now is the August-September timeframe of this year.
Oh man.
And I call it a hot spot because there's a lot of things that come together in that time period, right? Mm-hmm. Including the biblical feasts of trumpets and all of those different things that fall into place. So, so I think that's a window is this actually this fall. Then I had a guest on named David Mead that's convinced that through some celestial observations that it's going to be in fall of 2017. I had him on as a guest once. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing about dates. Unless you've got real data and you can show us and like just prove it with data with no speculation, don't rest on a date. Don't believe any dates. Mm-hmm. The way you look at this event is every day is an extra day you got. That's the way to look at it. Every day you have could be the last day you have in this world, in this type of world. So take advantage of your time. I hope it never happens, Daniel. Seriously, I truly hope this never happens. But there's just too many things pointing to the fact it happens. And it's going to happen.
I like that view there is good, because if we all looked at this maybe one extra day we have, how would we treat our fellow human?
Right.
Would we take it? Somebody cuts us off. Would we flip them the finger and cuss them out? And that would be the last thing we do. I mean, I don't want to be that on my grave, on my tombstone.
Me neither. And the second thing that we do on our channel too, just to kind of differentiate, when we talk about prepping and survival and all that kind of stuff, the stuff that you might think about after an apocalypse, what are you going to do? What are the survivors going to do? A lot of preppers are very self-centered. Okay, mm-hmm. How much do I need to feed my family? How much do I need to feed myself? Right?
Right.
You are not going to survive with that attitude. You will not survive with that attitude. Somebody will get you. Somebody will come after you. Mm-hmm. You need to be a part of a group. You need to start a community of people. And sooner the better. Like-minded people talking about it, prepping, being friends, patting each other in the back, having breakfast. All that is great, because when it does happen, the only thing I think that you can find any kind of safety is going to be in a group.
Now, what do you mean you have a second channel? What is that?
Second channel? I don't know what I may have misspoke.
Well, no, I mean you're saying that you do you have a prepping thing or?
Oh no, these are things that we talk about on our channel. So for example, I had a guy come to me a couple nights ago, called me up, and he started crying. Okay. And he said to me, he goes, I was the prepper that was going to have my guns, have my ammo, sit in my hole and just dare anybody to try to take my stuff from me. Mm-hmm. And then one night, Steve, you were talking about how that will not work. And the first thing on your mind, if this apocalypse happens, should be, how am I going to help my neighbor? How am I going to help my friends? Right? Mm-hmm. If that's not the way you're thinking about it, that you're in for a big disappointment in terms of your plan. And he was bawling to me, and he said the Lord had brought that, what we had talked about that night, to him and changed his heart. Now he's all about, how do I get enough water for my community? How do I get enough, you know what I mean?
Wow, that's a different point of view. Does that go along with the scripture that says, he that tries to save his life shall lose it?
Yes. I know I'm the devil, remember?
Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to figure, how do you keep them horns down? Make it look like it's hair instead
Trust me, man. I'm telling you, this stuff is scriptural that we're talking about. But again, the community loving each other. That's how we'll survive. That's where refuge will be.
Chuck in Florida wants to, of course, he revealed his location. Chuck in Florida wants to know, Steve, where in the country do you live?
I live in Wisconsin.
All right. And so are you prepping yourself then? Is that what?
Absolutely. The whole process of my last 5 years was to get to a rural location, living on a farm, plenty of clean water, and lots of area to grow, and then I have livestock. But the problem with Wisconsin is that it's one of those 50-50 states on the Navy map. One shows that Wisconsin is going to get flooded, and the other ones show that there's going to be high ground. So I did a survey of my area, and I'm at 1,200 feet, but most of Wisconsin isn't. So I will basically have an oceanfront view at the end of this.
Wow. Something came to me here when you were talking about that. Okay, so you moved on the basis of what your studies is, or did you already have that in mind and then you added this study to it?
We always, our family, my family, and my friends, and ever since I was a kid, I always had this thing in my mind that I was going to live and see the apocalypse, right?
Okay.
And a lot of people tell me they felt the same way their whole life, okay? So I don't feel alone on that. So when my friends and I would play, we'd pretend it was the apocalypse.
Wow.
We would plan for survival. And I come from a very rural area where people still can their own food and stuff like that. So survival to me is not a big jump because we were already self-sufficient when I was growing up.
So while I'm playing with a yo-yo, you was out there planning for the apocalypse.
Yeah, but I might have been playing Star Trek too.
Oh yeah.
The point being is that we would talk about like what would happen if we got into war. I mean, a lot of folks in the day, baby booms. Remember we'd talk about what would happen if there was a nuclear war. You remember those talks, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a time when you had to get under your desk for the nukes, man.
We were terrified. We grew up under that cloud, man. Give us a break. We thought we were going to get nuked any minute.
Well, we haven't got nuked, but I would say that the world is a more dangerous place. Now, let me ask you something though, because you said and for those of you who just joined the broadcast, we have on our newsmaker line Steve Olson, but in the beginning of our interview, our conversation, Steve, you said, I asked you how many YouTube subscribers you had, and you said you surpassed 30,000. So usually with that kind of following, that takes years to build up. But you said it was less than a year. Is that what? Or
yeah, it's less than 6 months.
Less than 6 months. Okay, that's what would be described as viral. You have gone, your videos have gone viral. Your YouTube channel has gone viral. But let me ask you something. I heard something. I don't know if it was Fox News, who it was. I was driving down the road and I heard something on the news, and now I'm going to. It's a little political, but I want to run this past you. So I'm not picking winners and losers here, but I will say what I heard, and that was it had to do with Donald Trump, and they were saying that he knocked off 17 people and everything he has done should have eliminated him. And all these things are happening to Hillary Clinton at the same time. And there's this crazy guy who can never get elected. But then they go, it just seems that there is something that is aiding his success. Something, and the way I got it was they were suggesting more than just voters. It was almost a providential. And when I thought of that, I instantly thought of the book called The Providential Life of George Washington. They said that so many things coincidentally happened to him in his leadership role of the Continental Army that there's no way that it could have been coincidences. The skirmishes he won and things he got out of, and getting shot out so many times, and they only hit his coat that he was wearing, but he was never hit. These kinds of things. So I heard they say that a little bit about Donald Trump. So I'm going to ask about you. Do you feel like there's a little providentiality, if that is a word? I can create them if I like in my universe.
It wouldn't be Steve Olson if I didn't say something controversial. Mm-hmm. He's one of the bloodline. He is of the royal bloodline of the British throne.
Oh, you're done. You are so done. Okay.
Could it be another hand that's helping him? Not God? Hey, guys, don't think that I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do I think Donald Trump's running a great campaign? Yes. Do I think that he has done a great job eliminating his competition. Yes. Do I believe that he's saying a lot of things that America needs to hear? Absolutely. Do I believe that anybody that gets to that level is no influence of the dark hand of the Luciferians? Heck no. Mm-hmm. He had to go meet with Kissinger.
Yeah.
Why?
Probably kiss his hand.
Why would he even talk to Kissinger?
Probably had to say a special seance type thing. But let me ask something. On the other hand, let's go back to Ted Cruz. Here's a guy whose own father said, "This is God's man, and the country will be destroyed unless you vote for him." And Cruz was saying, "You can't even be a Christian unless you vote for me." So, what do you think about that?
I think that he better go pray quick, because that's called taking the Lord's name in vain. You don't say stuff like that about the Lord's name. You don't have a right to say what God's going to do. You don't have a right to say who God's going to strike down and who he's going to work with. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. It's none of your business. And if you start saying stuff like that, that sounds like the Pharisees to me, brother.
Yeah, but I think the scripture that I can think of that goes with that is, beware lest you think you fall, lest you stand, because and pride cometh before a fall, and great was his fall. He fell in one day after he had said forever that he was going to go all the way to the convention irregardless, but he just disappeared instantly. So his fall was pretty great, and there was a lot of pride involved there. Okay.
I hate it when people try to tie their personal political or financial beliefs to God in any way, shape, or form, in the sense of saying, if you don't agree with me, God will strike you down. Mm-hmm. As soon as I hear that, I run the other direction. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as you say God's telling you to tell me something outside of the prophetical gift, which is a very special gift that God gives people, outside of that, you better not be speaking for God, because God can speak for himself.
Yeah. And there's been a whole lot of that I have seen over time. And if a guest says something that doesn't fit with somebody's theology, man, I tell you what, they will go. And we've mentioned that. But that is something. And the reason I guess we can bring this up is because it's so prevalent in the Christian church. How are we going to form these communities? Are you going to have a survival community of the pre-tribulation people and the post-tribulation people?
No. So as soon as all the chips start falling, I have a feeling that people will be very amicable to the community idea.
Well, what's going to happen? Both sides are going to have Trump come in and build a meet wall, because they're not going to talk.
Though, just look at 9/11 as an example, and I don't want to go into the politics of that or the conspiracy of that. But do you remember right after 9/11 how much Americans loved each other? Do you remember that? How we had our flags out?
At least for the day.
We were like opening doors for each other, and we were like, letting each other go in traffic.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? Remember that? Remember that?
Yeah.
That's typically what happens to Americans when we hit a crisis.
Hey, I can give you another date that happens every year, December 25th. Everybody's opening doors and that. But what happens on December 26th when people head back to return their unwanted gift? It is chaos and hatred galore, man. You better, those poor retail people that got to take those gifts back, they get called every name in the book, man. They're screaming and anger. It's the worst day in America.
Yeah, and what else do you expect when you love money? Wow. And you love things? What else do you expect? So getting a gift on Christmas is one of the greatest things, man. Watching a kid open their present. Come on, man. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where Christmas got to be a must, some kind of a obligation, some kind of a, you must spend money, otherwise you're somehow not a real human, all that stuff. Where did that come from? Well, that was the Fortune 500 and their marketing. Christmas is a Macy's event.
They were there when the shining star was above Jesus's birth, man. I think it was a Macy's Day Parade that led the people over there to find him.
I'll tell you, my favorite holiday is definitely not Christmas. It is Thanksgiving. And the reason for it is nothing's expected, man. The only thing you're expected to do is show up. Nothing else. And some families it's very dysfunctional. I know, I get that. But the idea that you have a holiday where all you're doing is giving thanks, that feels good to me.
Yeah. Agreed on that point there. All right, let's go to another question. This is from Phil in North Carolina. He says, what do you think will happen to the elites in our government when this planetary anomaly passes by and causes catastrophic chaos?
Well, the Bible gives us a hint, actually, of what's going to happen to them is that they're going to get stuck in their hole. And they're not going to know what's going on the surface. And they're actually going to scream out, please, just make the mountain collapse on us. We don't want to face the Lord of glory.
So that's them.
That's them.
That will cry.
The kings of the earth, man. Remember, he says the kings of the earth went to the mountains and the holes.
But didn't it say they will wish for death and they won't get it?
Right. Well, then that's a different thing, right?
Okay.
So there's also the mark of the beast, right? And I think there's a sequence of events. So the not being able to find death is a very interesting concept because it brings up the genetics of the mark of the beast. And L.A. Marzulli is the master of this stuff. But I learned from him that the mark won't just be a tattoo or a device to use for buying and selling. It will actually change your very genetics. And they're going to sell it to us on the premise that we've figured out a way to cure all disease. You take this mark, you won't have diseases anymore because we'll fix it. So there's all these kinds of things floating around in there too as well.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a little rabbit holes on every aspect of it, but the general point is that there is something heading our way, possibly a secondary solar system, some path,
Yep.
and it will cause cataclysms on a mass scale. Now, it will say. And you said you're higher up in Wisconsin than most. So, and then you said you're going to be seeing an ocean view. So, you subscribe with the sort of the ocean coming up the middle of America?
I do. I think that, again, and I think John Moore is the one that really convinced me on that stuff and listening to his radio show. And John is a Christian survival prepper guy that knows a lot of high level Navy guys. And that was really, to me, he's the most credible source for the map information. Because it came from the Navy.
So did you find a location based on that map, Steve?
No, man, I was led here. So we always, this goes back to this kind of always in the background. My family has always felt like we needed to be more self-sufficient, and we were always looking to move to a farm. And when one came available, we just took it right away. And, with the mindset that we would be able to be self-sufficient here. It just so happens that it's at 1,200 feet. I didn't plan that.
Okay. But
because I didn't even know about this particular thing, Nibiru or Wormwood or any of this. I didn't really start thinking about that, even know about this until May of last year.
Well, you know what? I was thinking maybe I'm going back to our earlier conversation when I was talking about Providence. My actual question to you was, because the way that the YouTube channel took off virally, the things, obviously now a lot of people are looking to information from you. So, and you don't subscribe that as success in of itself to yourself. You're not describing to yourself. My question is, do you consider that providentiality was directed towards you? In other words, you just said that you were led to where you are now. Do you feel like that God is telling you or moving you or directing you in this endeavor of research?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you could call me crazy or whatever, get the straight jacket, but I talk to God. God talks to me, and He has definitely got His hand on me right now. So, I mean, the fact that I'm not shut down off the internet right now is a miracle.
So, when you talk to this invisible person, Steve, does this invisible person talk to you?
Yes, he does.
Okay,
sure does.
Okay.
And it's not it's like any Christian you've probably ever heard that knows the voice of God. It comes to me in total compassion and love, and it comes to me sometimes as chastisement, but always in love. Sometimes comes to me with, hey, check this out, but it's always in love. Sometimes he tells me stuff I don't want to hear. Sometimes he won't answer me for years, and then I'll give you a great example. This ministry itself, the one I'm in right now, the one I'm doing, 10 years ago, I was prompted to make a little journal. In fact, it's sitting right in front of me right now.
Okay.
And this was back when I was doing, I was working for Xerox, ACS, and doing big time deals, global deals, and I had my nice little life going, right? But he prompted me to write a bunch of stuff down in this book, and it was just these morning sessions where I just write down whatever I thought the Lord was telling me, right?
Okay, right.
Put it away. Didn't even, I see the book floating around, but I never really picked it up. When I started this channel and I got to my first 1,000 subscribers, I think, something like that, the Lord told me, pick that book up. I picked it up, and it's a play-by-play thing of what was happening 10 years ago. You will be on the internet. You will not be speaking in person. You will be doing this. You will be doing that. It will all be done this way. Mm-hmm. It was all in that book, that journal, exactly the way it was happening. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know what I was writing down then.
Really?
Nope. I just said, oh, great, we're going to do an internet ministry. Whatever, great. I'll just write that down, right? Little did I know he was talking about this.
Okay, so your research on the secondary solar system, you consider is a ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ministry is this. The ministry is the truth will set you free.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So I lean on, like when people ask me, Steve, do you really think people need to know about this? My answer always is they must, because they're coming. Mm-hmm. If I was sitting out here with like 20 subscribers and just, nutting it around and everything like that, I'd understand you calling me a nut. But this thing is way bigger than a Steve Olson. Look at the comments. Look at the people that are weighing in. Doctors, lawyers, aircraft pilots, aircraft workers, government officials. These are the people that write to me, Daniel. I also get some kooks. I also get some people that are way out there, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But there are some credible people that believe this.
Do you have any Zionist following you, Steve?
Nah, actually, that's the funniest.
Since you are one.
Oh, no. I'm the furthest thing from a Zionist that you'll ever find in your life. Although our world is run by them.
Okay. Oh yeah. What and Black Pope or Jesuit, they're out there too. Hey, let's get to this question here for you, Steve. This is from guest 174. What exactly does apocalypse mean?
That's a great question. If I went and broke it down, I'm sure it would say something completely different. But to me, there is a definition for it that I just saw recently that I liked. What was it? It had something to do with major change or something like that. But I suppose I have the standard definition of apocalypse. It's large cataclysmic events that bring about major change. Mm-hmm. That's the way I define it, just off the top of my head. But I'm sure there's probably some deep spiritual meaning to it.
As fast as Obama is changing America, as he said he would fundamentally change America, the people in charge, wouldn't they be looking to such an event to have an exponential change of the entire planet? I mean, is this the writer, the progenitor of the catalyst to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the catalyzing event. This is the thing that's going to pull the strings, man. This is the event that's going to set off the book of Revelation, man. Just face it. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. And now let's look at Obama for a second. So, I don't like to get into who you like or who you don't like, but let me point something out about Obama that really scared me. Two things, actually. The TPP is completely out of character, okay?
Okay.
Everybody hates the TPP. Mm-hmm. Then why the heck is he so adamantly for it? All the Democrats hate it. So, you got to ask yourself a question. Who's driving Obama? Who's pulling those strings? Because it's not the Democratic Party. Now, the second thing I hate about what Obama just did was that executive order that makes him basically the ultimate ruler, or the president the ultimate ruler in time of disaster. Did you hear about that Fox report? Is that... Where they signed quietly one weekend, this executive order that says that in the time of national emergency, all resources will be under the control of the Homeland Security.
Right.
What? Does that mean they can walk into my house and take my supplies with no retribution?
Well, that's what it says.
Well, wait a second. That seems like a preparation for martial law, right? Mm-hmm. So why would you be preparing for martial law? It's not because of a financial crisis. Mm-hmm. That level of martial law, that's planetary cataclysm level power, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the government feeling like they have to have anything that's left.
But you're not going to let them have it, are you, Steve?
No.
They don't fall into the neighbor category, do they?
No. What I'm hoping for during this cataclysm is that people that are in uniform and that people that are being asked to do these things by the machine, that they would have a crisis of conscience and they won't follow through. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Right. Right. So when
But
it comes
the downside to that is, they did a study on this back when they were doing all the crazy psychological studies in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
They proved that 60% of humans will kill if told to.
Well, that leaves 40% that won't.
Amen, brother.
And that's the 40% you're counting on.
I am. And do I think there's going to be martyrs during this time though? Yeah, because the Bible promises it.
Okay, so when it happens, and I'm all upset because my Android phone no longer gets cell service, you're going to be up there milking the cows and stuff and having a good old time. Is that what's going to happen, Steve?
No, what I believe what will happen is that we're gonna start with refugees. I think we're gonna have a lot of refugees that we're gonna have to try to bring water and comfort to. So I think we're gonna be spending most of our time in that way after the apocalypse, and then just like anything, the Lord told us when it came to the time that we were going to be put in front of them that we weren't supposed to think about what we say, that He would speak for us.
Yeah,
that's going to happen to the church guys.
This may not be a fair comparison, but I'm just going to throw it out there because this is the Edge program and I can. But there's, I think it was in Sweden, there was a farm family that wanted to take in 100 refugees and show them the right way, a peaceful village-looking way of life, but they ended up killing all their cattle and, I don't know, they may have raped their daughter and tried to take their money and ran them out of their own house. That could happen if you're thinking that it's all going to be love and such out there.
I don't believe that. In fact, when they talk about AK-47s versus AR-15s, I buy both.
Why not? Why not have both?
Why not have one of each?
Okay.
So the point is that this is the other side of it is that I don't think it's too responsible. I don't think it would be responsible knowing what I know and not have the ability to defend myself. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, but there will be, yeah, and I guess maybe in the divine decision point of way, perhaps our eyes would be open to who is and who is not fit into the neighbor category. Going to
be treachery. There is going to be, you know what I mean? There's no perfect path through this. The only way to get through this, I believe, is if you're totally in fellowship with the Father through Jesus, and that you're in fellowship with other people that you're depending on. And then the other thing of this is, though, remember when they were under God's robe or something, and they were screaming out, the martyrs, they were saying, end it, man, end it, or something like that to Jesus. And Jesus turned around and he says, I can't end it until until the martyrs of the tribulation are here. What does that mean? That's us.
Somebody is going to die.
They're waiting for us. Yeah. So, start to think, what are you going to do at that moment when they say deny Christ?
Now, do you think that anybody would, like say the CERN collider, some people say that is that creates a portal. So do you think there might be those that will escape all this apocalyptic, these events and use a portal to escape? And if so, where would they go to?
Yeah, well, who knows, right? They talk about Stargates and all that kind of stuff. And, who knows? There probably will be some people that will escape. Who knows, right? Because you're talking about the same crazy guy that will tell you that we're not the first epoch of man. So I believe that this type of thing has been going on. This evolution of the human race, the perfecting of the human race, has been going on for a long time.
Okay, well, Steve, you said that there's I guess you call it a hot event later this year. That being the case, should an average telescope pick up something coming through?
No, the way this is here's what I think is going to happen. So right now, I'll tell you, and if you guys go to my channel, you can see this. But we've documented there is a blood red halo around the moon right now. It's there 24/7. It just depends on atmospheric conditions for you to be able to see it. It's there all the time. I've proven it. Okay. I did a call out to my subscribers around the world to say, send me pictures of the red halo, the blood red halo. I literally got 1,000 pictures. So here all of a sudden, I'm already seeing a manifestation of it in the sky. And if you pay attention to the sun with your sunglasses on during the day, I can guarantee you that if you keep watching, you will see this big blood red halo at some point. You will see it. So that comes and goes, but it's there all the time. We know it's there all the time, but it comes and goes. Well, what's going to happen when they can't hide the other stuff? Same thing's going to happen. People are going to notice it. They're going to start to corroborate. Next thing you know, everybody's going to see it. Mm-hmm. And I think just like the Bible says that our hearts are we're not going to get warning. It's not going to be like, oh, it's, 12 AUs out. We've got another year. Nobody's going to do that. It's just going to show up in the sky and men's hearts will fail them because of fear. Mm-hmm. The Bible promises that. So can you imagine if you have lots of time, is your heart going to fail of fear if you see it way off? No. I think what's going to happen is just going to be one day where they're just going to stop chemtrailing, and there it is.
Mm. But in that, doesn't it say that it was a book of Revelation says there'll be a time when they'll look at Babylon and say, what was Babylon for? It collapsed in a day?
Yeah. That makes me scared for America, man, so hard. It really does.
Because
I don't know how you get past the Babylon the Great not being the United States. I really don't. I don't know how. Mm. I can't get past it. Well, what other country that can you ever think of in the history of the world that if it was destroyed would cause all the merchants to weep?
Mm. Well, man, I tell you what, if selling body parts on the internet like Planned Parenthood does, I mean, if that don't make an indication that this is Babylon, I don't know what does.
I know, man. We've just gone so off the rails, haven't we?
Yeah. By the way, man, you guys have any transgendered targets up there?
No. It doesn't even register around here in Wisconsin, honestly. It just
good.
People don't really care about that stuff, honestly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And again, these are, to me, distraction issues so that we don't pay attention. Think of Hunger Games, okay? They want us to be Hunger Games. They want us to be 12 different tribes of people that don't even know what the other ones look like. That's what they want.
Conquer and
Just
divide.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. They need to keep us separated. They need the people to be divided. So they're going to find every way to divide us as possible. Mm-hmm. Who gives a... You know what? I had transgender women back when I was 10 years old, didn't you?
Were you about to say who gives a rat's ass?
Yeah, we didn't care.
Oh, man.
We didn't care which bathroom they went in. Did you?
No.
Nobody even paid attention to it.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden you're making a big issue about it? Shut up. God dang, there's better things to worry about than where people go to the bathroom, don't you think?
Yeah, hey, I tell you what, there's something that is important, and I have to straighten this out with the viewers here. The only picture I have of you is from Skype. I grabbed it, and you apparently have some kind of dog in your lap.
I do?
Well,
that's me with a...
and I cropped him off because he's not a guest on the show. But what kind of dog is that, Steve?
That's a Shih Tzu.
Aha.
I have a German Shepherd and a Shih Tzu, and the Shih Tzu is more terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but real Christians don't have Shih Tzus for dogs.
Then probably the beer I'm having in that picture doesn't work either, does it?
No. Oh, man.
Yeah, right. There's a beer in my hand.
You are
I think it was my birthday, and I was having my birthday beer with my dog in my lap.
Okay. I don't know. That's over. I mean, that's it. I mean, this I can see.
I'm done now, right?
Yeah, the video is vaporizing because of the evil, the pure evil there. Hey, Steve, I'll tell you what, man. We are at the end of the broadcast, though, man. It's been a lot of fun with you tonight. Any final comments or anything you'd like to say about any of your videos or just life's something for
general,
people helping along?
I really implore you to get really close to Jesus now, man, and really get to know the voice of the Holy Spirit. You're going to need to be able to hear his voice. Trust me on this. Mm-hmm. So spend time until you hear him talking to you. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's obviously good advice. And you're saying if we listen, we will hear.
That's right. He promises. If you seek the Lord, you will find him. Mm-hmm. Promise.
I have two people that just emailed in. They want to know if you have a website, but you're saying that what you have is a YouTube channel.
Just a YouTube channel. We're thinking about starting a website in July, but we're trying to figure out, our next steps from the YouTube channel. Nothing's definite yet, but I'm almost sure we'll have a web channel. But right now, it's just put Steve Olson, SteveOlson, in Google, and the first thing that will come up is our YouTube channel.
Okay. Wait a minute now. You're going to have you thinking about building a website right in the middle of it?
It depends on, here's the thing that I struggle with, okay?
Okay.
Long-term planning.
Right.
So, like, when I get the idea, I'll get an idea like, you need to do a web channel and you need to do all this and everything. And then I'm like, and then I'll get discouraged because it's like, geez, I don't even think I'll have enough time to put a web channel together. And then that's where the Holy Spirit kicks in and goes, just put the web channel together. You know what I mean?
Well, what I say, the Bible says, behold the ant-man, he prepares. So, I guess you should prepare at the same time storing up, and maybe storing up also includes a website too. So there you go. Well, Steve Olson, been a real delight to have you on the Edge Television broadcast. Can we have you on again sometime?
Oh, I'd love it, man. I love a chance just to talk to real people, man. And I feel like you're one of those people, Daniel.
All right. I'll try to be real as every day, you talk about just be happy you got one more day. And every day I think, man, I'll tell you what, if the Lord held me accountable for everything in my life, I'd be Owen, but I think there's somebody who's paid the price. So I think I'm going to be okay. So,
yeah, I think so too. I think you're going to be okay. I think a lot of people are going to be okay that you didn't think would be okay too.
And people that think they're okay, they may not be around.
Exactly.
Might get a little hot where they're going.
Right for everybody.
Okay. All right, Steve Olson, I appreciate you coming on the show. Good evening, my friend.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody, that was Steve Olson from Wisconsin talking about what's coming our way. If you miss any of this exciting broadcast, we'll begin to replay in our main player here shortly after the broadcast. We'll extract the high-definition video that we have captured and put it up on our YouTube channel. We'll put it up in the podcast as well and in our TuneIn radio playlist. Next week, Wes Grimmer's going to be with us talking about the crazy old Sasquatch out there wrecking havoc in our forest, and we'll find out how they're doing it next week with Wes Grimmer. 2 weeks, Jeffrey Daugherty is going to be with us, the Christian whistleblower. It's been a great program. Appreciate everybody's great questions tonight and interaction with the show. Daniel Ott for The Edge. Bye-bye.